Once a journal editor told me the number one reason for article rejection, it is the literacy review. If you do not have a solid reasoning for why people care about your findings, why these findings is useful, based on what evidence, how do you support your findings? See, if you don't have that reasoning, if you don't have support for your findings, basically people will not care about it. So in this video, we'll talk about how to use free AI tool to produce a very high quality literacy review. So first thing, when a student come to me, they will ask this question, what can I do? What is my research question? So many of them really do not have a research question, do not have something specific in their mind. And sometimes they probably do. They may have something in their mind, but because the professors are so experienced, they might be thinking, oh, what professor will think if I say this? Now, with these AI tools, you really don't have to think about that. No one is judging here, even though these guys are as expert as your professors, these AI people. But you don't have that fear of asking anything. You can ask any dumb questions, feel free. So it helps to open up. So the first thing, you try to find a good research topics and also on to define this scope. Okay, I have this thing in my mind, but can I really finish it within the time? So to that, the first video that we have made in this series was how to get started with your research using simple AI tool. In here, so in defining phase of your research statement, the first tool I'll recommend is the consensus. So if you ask a question in consensus AI, it will give you a consensus meter. So I ask a question in my field that do ergonomic intervention reduce back pain in the workplace? And then it will give me a consensus meter. Yeah, about 63% paper published, they find that yes, there is evidence that yes, ergonomics intervention will help reduce back pain. And about 20%, 25% say no, it's not gonna do anything. Sometimes you have this great plan, but you know, you ask people to do it, and they might not do it. A lot of those weight loss program, for example, they're all great, but how many people really actually can follow and lose their weight? Stuff like that. So before you dig into your, research a little bit further, you want to know what people are actually thinking based on. So this consensus AI will provide an answer based on the existing literature. The next tool that I'll be using is the Elicit, which you ask the same question in Elicit. It goes a little bit deeper than that. Elicit will provide abstract summary, and then you can add columns as you go. So the next thing would be for say, okay, now I have this idea that I'm going to have an ergonomic intervention, and that may reduce the workplace, back pain in the workplace. Now, how can I actually design that study? What is my methodology? So my next question would be, do I really have enough resources? So when you search this in Elicit AI, you can get the abstract summary for these different papers. You can add columns here, summary, findings, limitations. With the free account, you can only add 2. I can add 1 more, but I really don't need to. All I need to know in this stage of my literature review is the method section particularly. If you look at this method, it takes 30 months. This particular paper takes 30 months. So you have to have subjects available for 30 months. Do you really have that level of resource availability? So you can see each of them, how they have done. So you can do a little bit more understanding about. Let's say you do have subject available for 30 months. You do have that much amount of time. You're doing a PhD dissertation or something like that. Yes, the scope can be then broader. So that's okay, perfectly fine. So you read these different methods to kind of get an idea about, okay, I have this thing in my mind, but then how much actually it will cost me, how much times, how much resource is gonna cost me to basically do the research. So then after you define the scope, the research topic, the next thing would be to search literature. So In the past, there used to be Google Scholar, Scopus, AI Compendix, IEEE. These two AI tools, absolutely free, Semantic Scholar and Research Rabbit. Let me show you how to use the Semantic Scholar. Simply go to the Semantic Scholar, search. I just did a broader search in back pain ergonomics, workplace human factor, my area. One of the things you will never do, there is this thing in Semantic Scholar has PDF. Do not click that button because that will simply reduce the paper to half. So let's say if I click in that, right now it's showing me 4,580 articles. If I click that, it gives me half of that. However, I know this one does not in Semantic Scholar, this one does not have PDF, but I know that my school have subscription. And if I click on there, I'll be actually be able to download that paper. As you can see, view PDF. So it's gonna come. So the way this thing works, when you are in a school, most of the journal papers, they're not free. So the library the school has a proxy to access to that particular paper, which you cannot directly access through any of the AI platform. Nobody will be able to do that because these journals, that's how they set up their gateway, that you cannot just directly access to them. So you have to be in your school network or in the library, wherever you are. Also, I'm in my office right now, not in the library. So these journals knows that, okay, it's from Minnesota State. So yeah, they have subscription to my journal, so they can access now. So you can use this Semantic Scholar for search like this, and then the next tool on this, so you can find the papers, save them, download them, and then basically this is similar to Google Scholar, but it is actually better than that. Google Scholar actually provide all kinds of books, website, everything that people have cited, but this will only provide the journal paper. Here, Research Rabbit, this is a tool that you can use to basically see the mapping. So you can simply upload some paper here. Once you go to the Research Rabbit, and then create a kind of a network just to visualize how things are connected, who published after what was published in this area. So you can do a little bit of mapping, which is extremely difficult job if you want to do it manually. It will just do it in a second for you. So it will give you a little bit more idea about, basically this is still a search process. You're trying to finding papers. So first the Semantic Scholar, you can search the paper. Also going to the Research Rabbit, you can see how things are connected. So you can search more paper based on that. Basically, the idea is you have in step one, you have a solid idea. Now you want to find some more research literature on that. That would be the step two. Step three is organize them. Yeah, we already shown you how to use Mendeley. If you look at the Jetoro, this is the Jetoro library, my Jetoro library. You can see on the side there's some stuff there. You can do a lot more than just say. So Jetoro Mendeley is not just a citation tool, it is actually an organizing tool. So let's say you find 50 really quality paper that you're going to use for your research. You can make a library, Jetoro library or Mendeley library. You can actually tag them. So in old days, for example, in my field, I used to have 100 different folders of different things: cognitive ergonomics, physical ergonomics, organizational ergonomics. Under cognitive, I have, say, 50 different folders like that. You can simply tag them. You can also have some related paper associated with one paper. So this is a great way of organizing. So you found the paper in this step two. In step three, you organize them so that you know why they are. You sort them, tag them, basically. Step four would be, now you got a bunch of these papers. You need to read them. Now, most of the tools in this category, they're not free. SciSpace, Scholarly, they're not really free. Scholarly, SciSpace. However, the Notebook LM, I think this is even better than the SciSpace or Scholarly. The Notebook ML simply, I think, more than enough that you need to read paper. Now, this is SciSpace, which is not free. Scholarly, not free. They're good. I like SciSpace. However, it's not free. Notebook LM is absolutely free, and this is great. I think this does a better job for me than all those paid software. This is by Google, really, really well. So what Notebook LM does is simply, in all this, when you read a paper, you have 60 pages, you flip through those paper, there is no assistance. Now, in this, so I uploaded 2 of my papers, and then I asked some specific questions to this paper. Hey, what kind of objective measure this article used? And then it gave me the answer there. I also created a mind map using just only one article. So you see this mind map. So here is one article. I use just one article to create that mind map. So what it does basically, simply, it will give you a really nice mind map. You can visualize this 60-page paper, 30-page paper in one graph like this. And not just that, when you click a little bit more, it will direct you to that particular place where it's talk about the participant and everything. So now let me show you the another mind map. So I created a mind map using 2 of the articles, and then you can see now you got a little bit more. I'm interested in methods. I'm more interested in method, that what kind of method people have used in my party to prove this, whatever they did. And then I want to investigate a little bit more. So under this method section, both of them has participants. I want to see actually what kind of participants, the study participant, these studies used to actually prove their point. So I think Notebook LM is really great. And you guys ask any specific question, say objective measure. So like, does it have, I made a mistake in spelling, but it doesn't really matter. All these AI platforms are great, reading my mind instead of what I'm typing there. So it will actually pull the objective measures that this studies used and give me only that. So I think this will make your reading paper extremely faster compared to the traditional way. You can actually ask and get answer, ask, and it's like real life, some expert sitting in front of you with 30-50 years of experience, and you're asking question and they're giving you the answer. It's very efficient, very time efficient. The next thing would be pattern recognition, identify gaps, what's going on, what is missing somewhere. Elicit, we already talked about that. So when you go deeper analysis in Elicit, you can actually add some more columns. Say, let's say I want to see the limitation of this study. So what are the gaps, what they're not able to do, what kind of problem they faced. Now with the free account, you can't add more than 2 columns. You have to delete one. So once you do, say, delete limitation and method, you can probably add the main findings. You can go even more outcome measures, what kind of outcome measures did. So after reading this, going through this investigation, you have a good idea in your brain what is actually missing, what these studies have not been able to do, that I can actually add to that little bit, so that it adds some more value to the research community. Another tool is the Voyant tools. This is an interesting tool. Here we go. So this one, you can simply upload a paper, and then it will, let's see, I'm gonna upload this guy, and it will give you this word puzzle, this thing, and you can see what are the, it will just in work, time, scheduling, completion, fatigue. So you can also investigate by clicking these to find out what that particular section of the paper it is talking about, this, whatever you are interested in. So this is also an interesting way of to see what is more impactful, what is missing, things like that. And of course, you got a little bit of idea. You still can use ChatGPT and Cloud to kind of ask more specific questions, because now you have some idea about what's going on in this particular field, to get even more broader understanding, trying to figure out, what you can actually add to basically develop a good literacy review and your method section. Finally, you have to write. I use ChatGPT a lot in my writing. You can basically throw a bunch of words, it will create a paragraph for you. So you really don't have to worry about. When I write, I just write without thinking. Whatever comes in my mind, I just keep typing and then ask ChatGPT, polish this. This is perfectly fine. You can actually use any of this AI platform. I found Gemini, it kind of keeps my tone as it is, like me. ChatGPT make things is its own style, which sometimes I have to edit later. I don't exactly like the way it uses too much hyphen. So, but feel free to play with it and see which one works better. Finally, we already talked about that, the citation. Now, here is one important note. Anytime you see something interesting, you read a paper, you find something interesting, always have that couple of sentences note in your just, research literature, whatever file you name it, and keep citing as you go. A lot of time it happened to me. I wrote something interesting and then I forgot which paper I actually got that information because I was basically a sloppy guy. I'm not an organized person to keep everything organizing. So as soon as you find something interesting in a particular paper, just cite that immediately. So you have your Zotero or Mendeley library, you have that Word file already. So you're not doing it at a step 7. Step 7 is basically checking a couple of things. One of the things you have to be careful about all these citation tools, they download the data. However, not necessarily they download the data always correctly. Sometimes you may have all caps lock, so you have to check this information that whether these are correctly done or not. So some of them may not be downloaded correctly, so you have to be careful on that. So you have to a little bit manually check it. However, in terms of formatting, like APA formatting or Chicago or any other citation style, this software can do that job for you. So if you are submitting it for, say, your library or anywhere, each of the school has their own formatting style that you have to follow. But software basically does most of the job. So you're not really doing anything particularly manually. Everything is automated here. And of course, make sure you review. One thing is Turnitin.com. Most school has subscription to that. So after you write everything, you can copy and paste there and see, is it really matching too high? There's some limitation of how much it can match. So your advisor professor can tell you. You can also use ChatGPT. I use a lot for polishing, proofreading, stuff like that. Also, there is a typo here. It should be 0 ZPT. So you should see whether this is completely generated by AI or not. So how much this document is generated by AI. So there is some kind of AI check. Sometimes it is also helpful that is it looking too robotic, like AI looking, or is it like a human kind of writing? So all this process is actually a brainstorming process. As you keep going through this, it's going to help you understand, develop a solid, concrete literature review and a method. One of the things you have to be careful about, it is okay to use polishing, grammar, asking question, but it is not okay you instead ask some AI platform, write me a 10-page proposal, I'm going to submit it for this class, which is not necessarily appropriate. We'll have some more discussion on ethics later, but for this video, I think, um, you know, basically I use all these free AI tools, so kind of acknowledging them. These people are doing this great work. Hope this will be helpful. Thank you. And I want to know what kind of AI tools you are using for your literature review or any kind of research work. Please comment me below so I can share this with my student and rest of the world about that, so everybody can see what people are using, what are the new tools coming, which one is better, which one is working for you, or maybe just hallucinating. All right.